Legitimates. Today we are doing a scan and cut project just because I want this for me. So I have made a beautiful new piece of artwork for our toilet because I thought it was hilarious. I love it. So if you would like to see how to make one of these in, I don't know, like half an hour or less, please stay tuned. Right, so we are now in the Brother workspace place, and we are going to, because it's not an SVG that I've got, we're going to go over to this tracing image, and then we're going to go into the computer and find it. So it should be in my pictures, and I called it Use the Force, just to make it easy to find. It does help to label your pictures when you save them. So this is the overall picture, and it's going to just trace the outside, but we needed to trace the inside as well, so we have to go into this one, and there are actually only two colors, so you don't necessarily have to change that, but if you've got a design that's very, very colorful, you might want to just change it up. So then we're okay with that, so let's go okay, and this is now the design. So you can separate them all if you just double and triple click. So I can move that up and down if I want to. These are all individual pieces. So if I wanted to move this line up, I could click on it and then use the arrow keys and move it up or down. And if you don't like anything, you can just hit Control Z and that will remove it all. So I'm gonna come over to the layers. So these are all the different shapes. And at the bottom is always the image. So I'm going to select the image only and then delete it so that now you can see the whole design. Now I'm going to hold Control and then scroll up on my mouse, which is the little scrolly thing here. And I can already tell you that these have got two lines of cuts. So I'm going to delete one and see how it's still there. So you can tell because they're thicker. So I'm just going to take that one. Oops, that's too many clicks. And I'm just going to delete one of them. And you can now see that it's just one cut. That only matters because we don't want to cut through the backing. So that is now my design and it's ready to cut. You can see over here that it's got cut for all of them. If you were drawing this instead, you would just click here and change it to draw. But we're cutting. And this is the order it will cut in from bottom to top. So it's going to start at the bottom and then work its way up. That tends to be how that works. So I'm quite happy with that. We can resize it. So I'm going to click and hold and select everything. And then I'm going to hold, I think it's Shift and Control, and that way I'm not going to distort the shape. And I'm going to make it pretty much as big as I can. So I'm going to put it up in the top corner there and then make it bigger. So now it's going to be pretty much as big as I can cut. I've only got a 12 by 12 mat. If I had a 12 by 24 mat, I could obviously make it a lot bigger. So now that I'm happy, we're going to go to File, Export. Now mine again is not wireless because it's a very old model. It still works though, so I have no desire to upgrade it. So I just have to take it over on a USB stick. So I'm going to call this Use the Force again, but I'm going to put it in my Scan and Cut Files folder. So I've got everything relatively organized in my computer to be able to find stuff easier. So now that we've done that, we can go over to the machine. All right, so here is all my stuff. I got a Kmart frame, which is 8 by 10 inches. Technically, it's 27 by 35 is the whole thing. I haven't even opened it yet. So, depending on what you want to do, because I'm just doing a black and white theme, I'm thinking that I will just be able to flip this over and all should work out. Now, if you're selling these, you'll want to keep your corners so that you can put them back on. And then we're going to flip this over and bend up these. Possibly shouldn't be using this knife for this. My husband would potentially kill me, especially if I broke it. On the other hand, it should be strong enough to be able to do it. Right. So you just want to get out the back. I thought that was going to work out for me. Apparently not. I can leave the bottom ones done because you should just be able to pull it up like that. And then we want to look at the backing piece. Right, so this is the back, but when I turn it over, it's not pretty. So I'm going to have to go and get a piece of white paper. Because usually the back of this is white and you can just flip it over and use it. But apparently not anymore. They've changed what they're doing. So that's all right. The other option I have is I could actually go and just spray paint the actual board white. That would also work. Anyway. So, this is my mat. I always keep the plastic sheet that it comes with on because it is a really great dust protector. And I do have a lot of dust in the sewing room. Lots of fabric dust, but it is dust nonetheless. So, I'm going to line this up with the top corner here. And I've got my little squeegee. So we're going to go across and down. I am using a low-tack mat. So like that. I'm going to wipe it on. Make sure it's stuck down. Some people have rollers instead. It doesn't matter what you use. Then I'm going to turn the machine on. Give it a minute. So okay, and it moves. We don't want to get the previous one. So we want to go pattern, saved data, and then the USB. Now, usually, every single time I do this, the first and second time I plug it in, it doesn't acknowledge that it exists. So, I've just selected my thing and I'm going to hit OK. It's the size I want because I already did that, but if you saved it small, you can go in and make it bigger, and we're going to cut. So, it says it's going to take 3 minutes. So now I'm going to push that under, connect to the mat, like that, and that top corner is not sticking. If you have that problem where it's not sticking, you are majorly concerned, I can always put a little bit of masking tape down the side. But let's get it cutting. Also, if you were going to iron this on, if you don't have any of this stuff, you could instead use HTV. You just need to remember to invert the image, otherwise it'll all be backwards. Now I've got my blade set to like 1.5 because I only wanted to cut the top layer. Shouldn't take too long. Kind of does its own thing and that's okay. Yeah, so I might... Actually, what I could do is I could just put white HTV on, white sticker paper. I do have quite a large roll of that, so we might do that. We'll just put the white sticker on and then stick this over the top. You can do a bunch of things. You can paint it. You can go and get a piece of paper that is this size. You can paint the piece of cardboard. World your roast up, really. It depends on what you've already got in your house. So because I don't want to drive anywhere, I've got a 10-meter roll of white sticker vinyl. So I will be using that. But if I had white spray paint, I'd probably do that instead. Or if I had some white cardboard, which unfortunately, again, I don't. And with this as well, if you wanted to, you could make it so it sits in here and have the nice white border. That's also okay. But I decided that for what I'm trying to do, I want it to take up the whole frame. So it's done all the words, it's doing the second line, and now we're up to the actual dude on the toilet. So it really didn't take very long. I said it would take 3 minutes. It's doing pretty well. That's sticking up a bit, which I'm not terribly happy about, so I'm just going to use my finger to help push it down. My low tack mat is not great. These things happen. So we're going to go okay, pull it out, turn that off, and then take this off here. Now if all's gone to plan, even my low tack mat sits sticks to this sometimes. I'm going to instantly put this back on because I don't want all the dust in my room to get on my mat. They're expensive and anywhere near me you can buy the stuff to fix it. So I'm just going to move this out of the way, stick it on my ironing board. Now, rulers are your best friend and a rotary cutter. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go, now you can see it, you can see the cut there. So I'm going to go 1/4 of an inch past there and trim it off. Like that, so that I'm wasting less. Now, depending on how much you use, you can actually take your ruler and cut out this bit as well, because that's got nothing on it. So you can make like a smaller sticker out of that and we're not wasting it. So now I'm going to take the edge, maybe. Right, so this is not working out with my nails. I'm just going to get my little tool. This is actually a Cricut one. You can interchange, it's fine. I also got my transfer stuff and my white, because we're going to need that in a minute. So I'm just going to pick the corner and pull it down, and I'm going to go slowly, because there's always one bit that's not quite cut as well as you'd hope. So I like to basically, instead of pulling up, I pull along. And it usually works better for me left to right. And then I'm going to take this, when we get to here, because it goes back up again, we're just going to pick that bit out and help it, like so. And again, we're going nice and slowly so that I don't pull off any of the letters in case they didn't cut properly. Now, you can, if you get to here and you're like, oh no, it's going to get too messy, you can cut it off and do it in sections. And then I'm just going to take out those bits. And that's the whole thing picked. And that took, what, not even a minute? Because it's a simple design. So this is my transfer tape. It's clear, but it's not the same as contact. So please understand that there is a difference. Contact sticks more permanently. This is like a temporary stick. Let me get my paper scissors. Love my paper scissors. And I'm just going to cut up. I'm actually going to cut the whole way off because that bit's looking a bit nasty. And then you can cut it down now, or we can cut it down in a minute. It actually doesn't matter which. So, I'm going to just peel this off, because whatever's left over is going to go in the bin. This is a bit dead on the ends. Right, so, I'm going to start at the bottom, and then again, I'm going to grab my little squeegee, and I'm going to push upwards so that there's no bubbles. And the main reason we want no bubbles is because we don't want it to lift at all. So, that's now on. Cut off the excess. Now, if you were posting this to a customer, you actually want to cut it down so it's not so big. Because the bigger they are, the trickier they are to deal with. Alright, so I would probably cut it more like this. You could do straight edges if you want to. But the less you've got to deal with, the easier I personally find to put it on. Right, so that's probably how I would send it. That bit's rubbish. Now, usually I wouldn't waste this much, but again, the edges had like fur and stuff on them. So, now I want to take my big roll of white. And luckily for me, it is wide enough, so that's always a bonus. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it as a whole, because I actually think I'll waste less, and I'm going to pick off the backing. Which sometimes doesn't want to come as quickly as I'd like. Alright. Separate it. And we want to separate all the way along the top. Like so. And then I'm going to flip this over, starting at the top, making sure that there'll be nothing left, and then I'm going to work it down like this. Or if it's easier, work it from side to side. And this method, I know it seems a bit wasteful at the edge, but there's not a lot you do with that. And just pull a little bit more off, and always work towards this part here. Oh, and I just lost power in my house. Lucky me. Ah, it's going to be one of those days. I can already tell. Oh, it's back. Oh, and it's gone again. Awesome. Right, anyway, in the dark, we're just going to keep going because it'll probably come back on again in a minute. And no, I did not get warnings that this was going to happen. So, now I'm just going to take my knife, because again, probably the easiest way to do it, and slice it at the edge. Oh, there we go. See, we're back again. Nothing will stop me from getting this done today. Alright, so then if you want to, you just cut along here, like that. That bit is also rubbish because it's just the backing. And so then I'm going to come and slice it here, stick it to the rubbish, and here. And there. And so now it's white. Nice straight edges. It actually looks really nice. Now with this, we're going to take the squeegee and we want to run it all over because we want to make sure that our top plastic coat is going to pick up the entire design. And so by squishing it on as hard as you can, it's more likely to stay. So we want to peel the backing off the other layers. So you always flip it over like this. Now it looks like I've pushed hard enough, and these are quite large pieces too. So when it's big pieces, it's always easier, just so you know. Because I'm up to that line, and see how it doesn't want to come now? So I've peeled a little bit, and the backing's stuck. So now I just want to pick at the backing like that, and then it should come. So it's not everything because the start of the U stayed, but then the other bit didn't. So I could make my blade slightly shallower for the next one. Slightly shallower would definitely work because it's just cutting a little bit too much of the backing for my liking. So we're going to move along. So this blade, keeping in mind this was one pass at 1.5. So I need to turn it down to about 1.25. And then we should be right. It's all trial and error. I actually probably should have thought about that. I have it set up for HTV at the moment. So then here's the... We've only got 3 more letters. So we're lucky that it is a big design because it makes this much easier. I've got to pick much less things. If this was a tiny little design, I would probably get so frustrated I'd throw it out and cut it again. You just need to do less of a depth. But if it's got like glitter and stuff on it, then you need to cut it more. It all just depends. And because mine's like 4 models old now, I think, the new models have an auto depth thing so they can work it out and you won't have this problem. Alright. But we still got there. It wasn't that bad. So, grab the top and the bottom. Figure out where you want to put it. Now you can work out exactly where the center is if you want to, or you can do what I do, and I'm just going to eyeball it like I eyeball everything. And I'm pretty happy with there. So then I'm just going to squish it down and then work my way up towards the end. Make sure you give it a good press with this, because if you do it right the first time, we don't have to come back. And so then I'm going to take this and pick off that clear corner. And again, I'm going to pull it down along it, like so. And it tore here, so now I'm going to turn the corner and go the other way. Voila! It's all shiny and fabulous. And then we're just going to put it back in the frame. Not that bit. You just want to make sure, so sometimes these things move. You might have to use your fingers to pull them back again. And then we can go along and fold them all back down. And that's it. You have a fabulous picture. Now, this obviously didn't take very long to begin with, but it would take even less time if I was just doing this without recording, because I could kind of spread out and be wherever. But I think that's fabulous. That is going in our bathroom, because why not, really? This would also be a really cool thing to sell too. The frames aren't much, and you don't use that much stuff. And again, if you wanted to spray paint it instead, you could buy one can of spray paint, probably make a bunch of these. But anyway, so that's my project for the day. Now I am off to drive around and pick up things I need to do. I wish I had known the power was going to go out. I probably would have done it in reverse. But anyway, it's fine. Art at its finest. Alright guys, see you next time.